start with recording and then I'll talk after.
Lights? Sorry, I know you're working on it, but lights and then...
Yeah, how dark are you?
How dark?
Yeah.
You don't talk to me.
Is this like a good level?
Yeah, how do you feel?
That's fine. I mean, it could be done.
Can we try? What happens if you go?
Thanks for everything. Every year I feel like I'm prepared, and I'm always like, it's like never ending how much you can prepare.
I think this feels better.
It's cool, yeah.
I like it. So I'm gonna let's go to thank you. Sorry,
Eclipse, and we're going to be your
Cocktail hour, coffee hour, music leading up to the Game Jam in just a few minutes' time. But we're going to be playing a bunch of music related to Winnipeg, music from video games that was either composed for games that were created in Winnipeg or thanks to or tied to one of our sponsors of the evening. So what we first heard from was the main theme from the game called Sort the Court, made by Graham Borland and Amy Girardi, and the music was composed by Bogdan Ryback. In Sort the Court, you can give your decree in a simple yes or no answer and help the kingdom grow. Super grateful to be here playing with you. Let me introduce the band real quick. We've got Eric Roberts on bass, and then we got Justin Alcock on drums. My name is Julian Vittel, and we're going to keep the program moving. So next, we're super grateful to have Ubisoft sponsor one of our sponsors for the Game Jam. And one of my favorite Ubisoft games lately that I played last year was The Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. So, as a thank you to Ubisoft, we're going to play the main theme from Prince of Persia. This was composed by Gareth Coker and Mentrix. You can dash into a styling and thrilling action-adventure platformer set in a mythological Persian world where the boundaries of time and space are yours to manipulate. Thank you very much. Moving on, the next song that from a game that was first published by Devolver, who is we're grateful for sponsoring the evening. We're going to play the main theme from Fall Guys, which was composed by Yukio Kallio. And in Fall Guys, it's a free cross-platform, massive multiplayer party royale game. And we're going to do a little magic trick here where Justin's going to play bass and Eric is going to play drums. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we did something fun in the Discord server leading up to the Game Jam where members of the community submitted songs that they had worked on to have us learn and perform, and we got so many great submissions, and we picked the one that we were able to bite off for the performance today, and that was the song from the game Furball, composed by Eldritch Renaissance Cake, aka Chris Hay. And Furball was developed by Chris Driscoll and his team. And in Furball, it is an adventurous house cat breaks free for some wanderings in the wild. It's all fun and games until someone's paws get wet, or worse. Lucky for Kitty, bears in the wild are inventive and kind. Use your racket to prevent this reckless furball from losing its 9 lives by volleying it out of treacherous landscapes and getting it to safety. So this is the main theme from Furball. is Furball. Everybody. Thank you, Chris and Eldritch Renaissance Cake for submitting that song to us. Okay, next, another one of our sponsors. Obviously, we're in this incredible venue for the course of this jam. Red River is so gracious for letting us use the space. And in 2024, the first graduating class of the game dev program here created and released a game called Rift City Rebels. And we're going to play the track Esplanade from that game, which is composed by Will Harder. Rift City Rebels is a multiplayer platform fighter set in a near-future reimagining of Winnipeg. Take control of one of 7 exciting characters and battle against up to 3 friends or the computer for control of the downtown exclusion zone. So this is Esplanade. Okay, moving on. From a game that was released over at the end of the year, Little Rocket Lab just came out, available on Steam, and we're going to play the song Spring One from Little Rocket Lab. The composers, Donovan Yonk. The devs are Teenage Astronaut. You can transform your childhood home as you build brilliant factories and forge lifelong friendships. Then reach for the skies and finally finish your family's dream, your mother's precious rocket ship. Roll up your sleeves. It turns out that saving this town really is rocket science. couple more songs for you before we begin the opening ceremonies with all the fantastic speakers set to give their presentations. Next track we're going to play is from a game by Zenfry Inc. called The Last Taxi. In The Last Taxi, you are a taxi driver at the end of the world, having conversations with your passengers. You are the last human taxi driver in a desperate future where the last remains of civilization are propped by surveillance, automation, and human modification. The hours are long and the pay is terrible, but hey, at least you have a job. While you're driving your clients around, you have the option to entertain them while they're conversing with you. And this is from the radio station in the game, and this is the pop radio music track. This is composed by myself. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we are going to play the main theme from the game Balatro. The game Balatro developed by Local Thunk, composed by Ubisoft. This is the poker roguelike. Balatro is a hypnotically satisfying deck builder where you play illegal poker hands, discovering game-changing jokers, and trigger adrenaline-pumping outrageous combos. Okay, next up, another sponsor for tonight is Flightyfelon Games, and Flightyfelon Games just released their game, FREERIDE, on Nintendo Switch. I am personally very grateful to be working with the team. We're going to play a song that myself and our creative lead, Rebecca Harrison, co-composed. This is a song called, it's a medley between 3 different themes that you hear in the game. One is the Fate Train Express that you hear when you're walking around the world in a train. The other is when you're at Seer's apartment. Seer is a mysterious god who interjects into your journey at various points, and then you hear the main theme in this as well. In FREERIDE, your personality plays the game. Help strange spirits solve their unfinished business, or lead them to despair. In this highly branching narrative adventure, you'll only see about 1/3 of the full story in each playthrough, but the end is whenever you want it to be. we've got 2 more songs for you. And next up, we've got from the game Wand Wars, developed by Moonradish Games. We're going to play Play Ball, composed by Bogdan Ryback. And in Wand Wars, you ride brooms, cast spells, and transform your enemies into chickens in this intense magical sport. It's come to this moment. It is our last song of the night. Just wanted to extend another huge grateful thank you to the Winnipeg Game Collective and PegJam for asking us to come play. It's always a joy and an honor been coming to Game Jams. I owe my career to the Winnipeg Game Jam and getting started by working with all these great developers who are here today. You don't know what connections you're about to meet and make friends with and work with for the rest of your life. Or at least for a couple of years, maybe. Who's to say? Okay. Once again, we are Compost. We have albums out on Spotify, Bandcamp. We have some merch here if you're so inclined. We just released a new record called Perennial. You can buy it on tape if you want. We're playing a show that was just announced today, part of Exchange District Biz on March 6th. Follow us on Instagram. You can learn more about it. And once again, I'm Julian Butel. This is Eric Roberts, Justin Alcock. Have fun at the jam. And most importantly, you thought we'd forgotten it, but no, the Winnipeg Classic, the most iconic 80s jam from ever composed for a PegJam game, is going to be played now. This is Adrift in the Night from Lucid Dreaming, Neon Nights, developed by Matt Welk and his team. One sec. This is a competitive driving game for 2 players. This is composed by the one and only Dan Bergman. Nice.
All right, let's give it up for Compost.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for coming back to do this again this year. Everybody out in the foyer, this is your cue. We are getting started now, so please file in. Take a seat. We are about to begin. Thank you.
Testing.
When I said this is your cue, people out there, I meant you. Yes, you, still standing, chatting. Please, come inside. It's warm in here, and we don't bite. Thank you.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay. All right, everybody, come on in, take a seat, and welcome to the Winnipeg Game Jam 2026. Woo! Okay. How close do I have to be to the mic? Kind of close? A little bit closer? As close as possible? All right, we're running slightly behind schedule, so I'm going to get started. Hello, welcome. My name is June, and I'm the community director with the Winnipeg Game Collective. Before we get started tonight, I want to acknowledge that Red River College Polytechnic's Exchange District campus, where we're meeting here this weekend, is located on the lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota Oyate, and the Denison, and it's the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We recognize and honor Treaty 3 Territory Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, the source of Winnipeg's clean drinking water. And in addition, we acknowledge treaty territories which provide us with access to electricity that we use in both our personal and professional lives, and that I'm sure we're especially grateful for this weekend. Who's excited to jam? Awesome. We're going to have a great time this weekend, but first I have some people and organizations that need to be recognized and a few housekeeping things to take care of. So, first up, I know I just said let's give it up for Compost, but let's give it up for Compost again for the excellent PegJam Radio set they just performed. Very cool. Very, very cool to have video game music from Winnipeg performed like this. And we're very grateful to have them back for the second year in a row at the Winnipeg Game Jam. Thank you so much, Julian, Justin, and Eric, for that awesome performance. Next, if you're not familiar with us, this event is organized and run by the Winnipeg Game Collective. We're a non-profit organization that's been running game jams, meetups, and other events supporting the game development community in Winnipeg for over 10 years. Our next meetup is happening this Tuesday, February 24th at New Media Manitoba's Studio Lab XR. We're going to be crashing their Game Biz Lab event. So come by for what is sure to be an excellent talk by Ubisoft Toronto's Daryl Long, and then stick around afterwards to network and play games made during the jam. Please come to that. It'll be a good time, I promise. Of course, events like these, especially game jams like this, aren't possible for us to put on alone, and that's where our wonderful event partners come in. So Red River College Polytech has been a critical partner in bringing this event to life by, of course, providing the space we're gathering in this weekend. We're very grateful to have access to a jam-ready venue like this, like the Manitoba Bibidasige building, that's both beautiful and functional. Red River College Polytech is a unique post-secondary institution that blends deep knowledge-based learning with applied hands-on experience. They even have an incredible video game development program. So if you're looking to get further education in video games as an artist or a programmer and work in a one-of-a-kind collaborative setting with fellow students, it's great, and it comes recommended by a number of us on the Winnipeg Game Collective coordinator team. Next up, our other amazing event partner this weekend is New Media Manitoba. New Media Manitoba has been supporting the Game Collective since the beginning, and it's been wonderful to work with them again to bring this event to life. I'd like to invite up Corinne to say some words on behalf of New Media Manitoba.
Sounds good. Thanks, June.
Sorry, we just lost it.
Oh, I shocked the laptop. I'm glad it turned back on. Wonderful. So good to see so many people out here today. Having some of these conversations here, I was sitting at NMM's booth for a little bit. I was chatting with some folks that have been part of this community for a good while. And I was thinking back to my first exposure to game jams here in Winnipeg. If you know me, I'm on the business development side. I'll get more into that. But I was attending a game jam event from an economic development perspective. Like, what's happening in video games in Winnipeg? And this was in the McDermott building up on like the 5th floor. And I was just blown away by the people, the presentations. I was thinking to myself, there was a video of a building that then one of the developers was able to expand it, and just like the windows went into places that made sense. I'm like, that's so cool that these are the sorts of things that are being worked on here in Winnipeg, and over that weekend, the sort of games that were coming together. So I know New Media Manitoba has been part of game jams since the early days, and I am very pleased to be sharing these remarks on behalf of New Media Manitoba. For anyone who's not familiar with New Media Manitoba, we are a sector council, an association for the interactive digital media industry here in Manitoba. So not just video games, but also anything related to extended reality, VR, AR, MR, as well as interactive web and app development. So originally we started more so focusing on the training side, that sector council piece, adding in the business development part, which is more of my work, and sharing some of the our folks that are part of New Media Manitoba. My role is more on the business development side, so helping our companies here, how can they grow, what sort of funding, support, programs, advice, navigating, advocacy that we can do for them. But we really have evolved into being that place that you can go if you're looking to grow here in the province. That advocacy piece, we're definitely a big proponent of advocating for changes to the Manitoba Interactive Digital Media Tax Credit, which if you are a studio owner or would be in the future, these are the sort of things you should come and talk to me about, because I love to talk about these things. But looking at all my colleagues here, New Media Manitoba, I was scribbling this on some notes, and I kept having to add a little bit more. It's so crunched in terms of the different things that we're working on. Academic relations, connecting with industry, girls in gaming, Jenica, shout out, yeah! That training on game design, game development for women and girls, like age 10 to 12, so helping to see more people joining into this industry. Tech hubs, so that's focused on same high school side, getting more people into games. Pitch lab, helping newcomers with their job, looking for job skills. Studio Lab XR, if you're not familiar with our extended reality training space, super cool. We got a floor to ceiling, LED screen. We can use it for virtual production. If you're coming to any of our Game Biz Lab events, notably the one next Tuesday, it's going to be in that space. You can come and check it out. AI Interactive, focusing on AI adoption and commercialization in IDM. IDM Creator Lab, education for students and teachers on IDM skills. I could go on, but really wanted to give this shout out here to the NMM team of the things that we're working on, and make sure that I gave the big check that I told Louis that I told you in full what NMM is up to. So if he asks, say she did a great job. But Gabe's Lab is a program that I'm very involved with. It's really focused on the business side of video games. So if you've ever thought, it would be pretty neat to start a studio in the future, if you're that newer aspiring studio owner, this is really why we started this program. So the community sessions, like I mentioned, you can come out and learn about some of the business side of video games. We've done sessions on, marketing, project management, legal, budgeting. But it's also a place to connect with others that are interested in this as well. Also, just a really quick plug, we've got a co-working space that is pretty neat, same sort of thing, kind of connected to Game Biz Lab, bringing together those new and aspiring studio owners, or some that are a little less new, but if you haven't come to a Game Biz Lab event and you want to, or you're interested in the business of video games and the sort of benefits, additional programs, those one-off things that we have to share, this is our QR code to our mailing list, where you can get all of the cool info about that. And just when it comes to New Manitoba in general, this is our general newsletter for everything that we are up to, so that you can stop having to listen to me talk about it. But I'm really excited to see all of the folks that are here. I know there's big things that come out of game jams. There's new passions that are sparked. There are ideas that then become fully fledged games. There are teams that are tested here that, who knows, you could be working together in the near or distant future. I know there's already some connections I saw today of, hey, I haven't seen you in years. So really enjoy this. I want to wish everyone happy jamming, and thanks so much for having us.
Push a button here. Maybe that makes this a little bit louder. Okay, next up, we have our wonderful sponsors. This event would not be possible without the support of these sponsors. The first of which is Ubisoft Winnipeg. Ubisoft Winnipeg opened its doors in 2019, and since then has worked on games such as Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six, and X-Defiant. The Winnipeg studio is passionate about supporting the local video game community, whether it's working hand in hand with community partners, speaking at local schools, or supporting aspiring developers across the region. To say a few words on behalf of Ubisoft Winnipeg, I'd like to invite to the podium Ryan FitzGerald.
Thanks, Jim. Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Ryan FitzGerald. I'm the lead game designer at Ubisoft Winnipeg and a longtime member of this beautiful community. If you'll indulge me, one little walk down memory lane, it was over 20 years ago that me, Noah Dector-Jackson, who some of you probably know, and two other people met at a coffee shop on Academy as the inaugural meeting of the Winnipeg Game Developers Meetup, and said, we would like to have a game development industry in Manitoba. What do we have to do? Bless you. And 20 years happened, and here we are. I am proud to represent Ubisoft Winnipeg tonight. We are thrilled to present or to sponsor PegJam and support this amazing local game development community. Jams take, any newbie jammers here? Any first-time jammers? Yes! Oh, that is so exciting. That is so exciting. Jams, and veterans will know this, jams take all of the best parts of game dev, all the inspiration, all the collaboration, all the me and him gloves. Hey, oh, what if we do they distill it all into this beautiful 2-3 day little period where all of these qualities combine into inspiration and experimentation. And you sleep like puppies, and you maybe not. It's the best, and it is absolutely the kinds of things that puts fire in your belly and keep you working in this extraordinary industry. And it's extraordinarily good timing for PegJam as well, because the jam is all about beginnings. It's all about inspiration. It's about this collaboration. But coming up, we have Manitoba Tech Week. I hope some of you have the opportunity to look at the agenda and participate in some of the events going on, because Manitoba Tech Week is about solutions and collaboration and about processes. And then if you will permit me, one little shout out to my colleagues from Ubisoft Winnipeg. Rainbow Six Mobile launches on all of your phones from potatoes up on February 23rd, and we even have some of the alumni and participants of Rainbow Six Mobile here with us tonight. I will see you later. I'm going to get back in line of all the speakers because I'm going to be talking to you with actual slides later. But in the meantime, I will close with my earnest hope that you have a blast doing this jam, and I wish you good luck finding that fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Our next sponsor is Winnipeg's own homegrown Flightyfelon Games. Flightyfelon Games is a local indie game studio focused on creating emotional, unique gameplay experiences and building a sustainable work environment. Their first major release, FREERIDE, the personality test RPG, is out now on Steam and Nintendo Switch. So if you have one of those platforms, go check it out. And I believe they have a message for us. Okay. So make sure you have a pleasant jam so we can fulfill our contractual obligations to the Flightyfelon fam. And our last sponsor, but certainly not least, Devolver Digital. Devolver works with independent developers from all over the world to produce and promote some of the most original, eccentric, and beloved games of the past decade. They have told me to say, and I quote, "Devolver Digital can be best described as a person you meet in the forest who just puts their finger to your lips to shush you and then gives you the budget for your game." They've also given me this additional image to show. So in addition to having a pleasant jam, I'll also need you to be excellent to each other so we can fulfill our contractual obligations to Devolver Digital. Thank you. Yeah, let's go. So moving right along into what you can expect from this weekend, I have here our schedule. It's pretty straightforward. Right now we're in the keynote plus speakers section, and then we'll proceed linearly through time until we get to the showcase on Sunday. Doors open at 10 a.m. each day and close at 10 p.m., except for today, you'll note 8 p.m., but that's flexible, probably. I won't stop you from leaving your equipment here after hours, but we won't be held liable for it, so I would recommend bringing things home each night. We'll have our formal matchmaking for in-person attendance at 11 a.m. tomorrow, so if you'd like to work with a team but don't have one yet, be sure to attend that. For people participating in person but who have weekday commitments like work and can't make it in the morning, we'll be doing a mini matchmaking session around 6:30 p.m. If you're participating remotely and want to be part of matchmaking, be sure to fill out the form you can find on our Discord. More on that in a moment. The deadline to participate in the showcase will be 5 p.m. on Sunday, and then the showcase itself will be 5:30 p.m. I trust that everyone's games will be done and submitted by 5 p.m. and that there will be no last-minute submissions. I'm looking each of you in the eyes and making a silent binding agreement that this will happen. If you need to submit late, we'll try to make it work, but you just promised me that you'll have it in by the deadline, so I'll be disappointed if you break your promise. Our method of communication for the event will primarily be Discord. You can find the matchmaking form there. We'll post the showcase submission form there. So please scan the QR code now if you're not already in the Discord. Grab the PegJam 2026 roll so you won't miss any important info. So yeah, make sure to scan that or just find the Discord on our website if you are not yet in there. Next, I have a slide that says intermission. This is a lie. There will be no intermission. Now moving right along. I hope everybody's ready for the main event. We have a lovely slate of speakers for you this evening. I'm very excited to hear what they each have to say, and I hope you are too. So without further, we'll have time for questions. So after each speaker, we'll have a quick Q&A, time permitting. So without further ado, first up we have Ryan. Ryan has designed and written. Well, let me introduce him first. Ryan has designed and written for linear and non-linear media in film, TV, video games, and installations. He is an alumnus of both the Canadian Film Centre Media Lab and the National Screen Institute. He has taught game design and transmedia internationally. He's been a game designer for 15 to 20 years, depending on when you start the clock, and has been with Ubisoft Winnipeg since 2019. Please welcome up Ryan. Now you can clap. All right, so we're just gonna...
And now you'll all bear with us while we make sure the technology works.
Yeah, the fun part. All right.
first we do HDMI.
Yep.
This one?
Yes,
I
the
can't.
middle one.
It is that one. Oh, I grabbed that one. There we go.
Do.
Boop.
You know how it works? Which, you guys, between you and Annie?
Yeah. Nice.
That was an amazing sound. That was.
Someone capture that?
All right, so far good.
So far, so good.
Now we're going to do Chrome.
Yeah. So let's get that opened up. So VDO dot ninja. Yep.
Oh, I suppose I probably need to be on a network or something,
yep,
right?
That's important. So yeah, let's go down there. Actually, yeah, I'll let you use.
RRC Wireless?
Yeah. Or sorry, RRC guest. If you can see that.
There we go.
I said there wasn't an intermission, but if you need to stretch your legs, stand up, spin in a circle. Now is a good time.
Yeah, so.
MI 82 M5?
No, sorry, that is old.
Oh,
We're looking at 883
83
RQI.
RQI. Password?
Yeah, 8467.
8467.
Yeah. And then you'll need to scroll to the
Agree.
bottom there.
Oh,
Make some scroll, yeah. Agree.
who knows what I just gave away on this work laptop with those.
Oops.
I have. All right.
Great. So you should be connected. So if we go back.
VDO.ninja.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
Great. So remote screen share into OBS. Select screen to share. Entire screen.
And it's going to do that one,
Yeah.
not this one?
Yeah. So when you can
Ah,
select
there we
screen
go.
2.
There we go.
Share.
And I don't have any audio.
Don't have any audio, so that's fine.
No audio
That's
detected.
fine. So now we should be good. I'm just going to take a quick picture of this. Oh, come on.
Focus.
Great.
And then I go. No, that's the wrong one. No, that's the wrong one. I'm just going to go to PowerPoint.
Yeah, should, there you go. Okay, just give us a second to
Yep.
get that set up, and I'll give you the go-ahead.
My side's done. This is jamming. This is jamming. This is a feature, not a bug.
Alright, I'll make sure this is good. Okay, you should be good.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you want to, you can hide that.
I will. Okay, thus concludeth the intermission. Like I said, my name is Ryan FitzGerald. I am going to go really, really fast because that is kind of the essence of jamming. There will be a question period at the end. I find the question period actually as much or more valuable than this stuff because my background is interactive narrative and my hypocrite light starts flashing if all I do is talk and then say thank you and walk away. So I absolutely want to preserve some time for Q&A. Otherwise, we're going to go really, really fast. I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time talking about the big three, which is dialogue scenes and cut scenes, and we'll spend a little bit of time kind of sort of on environmental storytelling, and most people know a little bit about environmental storytelling, but I'm going to break it down into a little bit. I've worked, as a game designer, I've worked on the narrative side, and I actually have a narrative background before I got into the official game design job family. But first, the boring part, a little bit of theory, and I'm going to go super, super quick. An old monk stands at the seashore with a young monk, and the old monk says to the young monk, the acolyte, "Show me where the ocean is." And the young monk has a befuddled look on his face, and he points at the ocean because they're standing on the beach. And the old monk says, "No, that is not the ocean, those are the waves. The waves are an expression of what the ocean is feeling. The ocean is deep and mysterious, and the ocean is removed from you." We know dialogue scenes, we know cutscenes. These are just two of the tactics that are available to you if you wish to communicate lesson, parable, theme, tone, elements of story. Dialogue and cutscenes are just expressions of what your story is feeling. One of the oldest forms of oral storytelling is in the form of a constellation. You can look at 3 stars that just make a triangle, but we associate pattern to them because humans are squishy pattern detection machines. And we say, no, it is a lion. No, it is a hunter. No, it is 2 fish in counterpoint to each other. And we use this to try to tell the wrappings of a story. Maybe it's a parable or a moral, or it is instructions on when the best time for planting is, because in a pre-literate society, this is how story survives. But it's just 3 stars in the sky. It is just an expression of what your story is feeling. No more theory. You're here for tactics, so let's talk about tactics. Things that you can do in your jam. Not all of them are going to be appropriate. Not all of them are feasible. Maybe not this weekend. Maybe in the jams that you make in the coming months or years of your career. There are going to be things that you can do. And I'm going to skip past dialogue scenes because, yes, they might have like BioWare's moral compass wheel, and you don't even read what it says. You just know you're going to pick up and to the right. Or maybe you're playing a game that wants to impose some urgency in the conversation, and so there's a timer, and you're going to, I got to read, okay, be good. And then you realize you pick whatever you pick. Even with cutscenes, Half-Life was revolutionary for having interactive cutscenes, which basically meant you walked around in the room while Barney talked at you. And then, like I said, with environmental storytelling, we'll break that up into its own little family. Now, broadly speaking, I consider storytelling can be found under these 5 categories. There's character, there's PvP, there's the world, there are quests or missions, and then there's meta, which is a very pretentious way of saying everything else that I couldn't think of fit in the first 4 categories. The very first one, when we talk, if you were to invite a game designer onto your game and said, hey, we got this game in progress already, and I would love your help, the first question that game designer may ask you is, great, what are the verbs? We talk about verbs. What does the player do? That's the first question. What does the player do? Do you run? Do you jump? Do you hunt? Do you aim? Do you shoot? Now, you're going to assign those kinds of verbs on the control stack. You're going to, if it's super, super high priority, like acceleration in car, you're probably going to put it on the left trigger if you're using a gamepad. Where you prioritize the verbs on your play stack tells the player how important that is to you as a development team. How important is it to express what your character does in the video game? Apex Legends is still talked about and is a high water mark for many, many reasons. But one of them in game design and narrative circles is because they took the ping button, which is ordinarily relegated deep on the D-pad, and they put it up on a bumper, which is like a tier 2 button that you would reserve for a melee or pooping out a grenade or something like that. And by prioritizing it in the control stack like that, they told all your players, talking to your team is important. Do not forget to talk to your team. Your team matters in this game. So think about, as you start assigning button mappings, especially if you're using a keyboard, that's so important because you're going to feel this enormous sense of space. We can do something with Shift G. We can do Control. Let's use the function key. I've never used the function key. And you're going to want to resist that temptation because where you map your buttons can help tell what you're trying to do. Imagine what it does to your player if you put high up on the control stack the button to beg. Imagine what it does to your player when you have a game, maybe it's a rhythm game, but you put dance and it cues like a little animation cycle. Think about what that does to your player and what they interpret, they think you mean when you put that there. PvP, steel sharpens steel. You could, of course, have red versus blue in the world's most strategic box canyon. Or you can do what StarCraft did, and you can attach lore and story and pique players' curiosity with what these clans and communities and factions might entail. especially if you have an opportunity to delegate the naming and personality of these communions as they organize organically around player principles. You have the filthy casuals, and you have the hardcore people, and you have the take no prisoners people. And if you support this in game and put your thumb on the scales to encourage the types of lore that you want to see emerge, your players will take ownership of this, and they will run with it as much as you delegate to them. It's not just players who are going to have relationships with you, it's the NPCs who are going to have relationships with you. What does it say about your game if you can be friends with everybody? Are you a diplomat or a peacemaker, or are you a mercenary? What does it say about your game if your relationships with your NPCs are zero sum and an NPC says, I can't be friends with you because you're friends with her? How do you use this kind of triangular asymmetry in your relationships with your NPCs to communicate elements of lore and hint at a deeper backstory of shifting alliances? Those NPCs may want to talk to you. They may have already recorded things to say. BioShock was extraordinary for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of them was its innovative use of audio diaries to communicate lore that you could listen to even while you continued to walk through the world of Rapture and experience that. You could brawl like crazy as Batman in Arkham Knight, but picking up Riddler trophies in the Arkham games. That was how you experience Batman's relationship with the Riddler. And you have this cat and mouse game of who is hunting who and who is taunting who. You can use text assets, you can use audio assets. As game developers, you're going to have to be cognizant of how expensive the various things are that you put in the game. And some of them might be cheaper than you think, and you can still use those to communicate story. Did I say NPCs? I personally think, and I will fight people for this, Mass Effect 2 may be the perfect video game. I love, thank you, my people. You recruit this amazing misfit crew in Mass Effect, all three of the games. But in Mass Effect 2, the missions and quests were loyalty missions. You would do a loyalty mission to earn the trust and respect of your comrades as you save the universe. And how the outcome of those missions could still be successful, but it may not have earned the loyalty of your NPC companions. And that had a direct impact and outcome on the final, the endings, the various endings of the game. So if you are developing a game, think about what you're going to do as a quest. Even if you want to do just a relatively grun norm fetch quest, which we all see and make memes joking about. Are you going to ask your player to go find and deliver 7 orc livers? Because not all orcs have livers, we know that. But think about what it does to your players if you say, no, I need you to get a ribbon for a birthday party, a ribbon for a birthday present. You can hint, again. NPC conversations, dialogue scenes, they are very, very expensive. I'm going to use a reference from one of Ubisoft's own games. This was Far Cry 6. You can, if you don't want to interrupt the action and interrupt the gameplay with a conversation or a dialogue scene with an NPC, you have them call over a radio or comms or headset or whatever while you're actually engaged in the action. Now, this is an example of a quest called All the Blood, where you are working with an NPC who is an explicit fan of Rambo and the lore that surrounds the Rambo movies. And you are tasked with killing hundreds of bad guys. And then during the mission, you realize they can't check up on you. So your character, male or female, named Danny, your character just starts to lie and says, yeah, I've killed like 220 easily. And the counter goes up. And it goes from like 4 to like 222. And then the NPC checks in and says, how's it going now? It's like, oh, I've killed like 400 now easily. And the counter will go up. So it's an example of how when you are doing a radio call or a comms check with an NPC who isn't physically there to witness you, it's an opportunity to do some modern myth making. Oh, he was 9 feet tall and shot lasers from his eyes when he defeated the Scottish at Stirling, or whatever. This kind of modern myth making is one of the ways that you are continuing this extraordinary tradition of fables throughout history. NPCs. Let's talk about some lovely moments. Expedition 33 gives you a chance where you can have a dialogue scene, but now with a dialogue scene, you may have a story that's burning a hole in your heart, trying to get out, but if your players are not there to hear it, you're going to waste your time. And worse, they will just skip skip, and you'll have spent a ton of energy making a scene that your players are trying to get through as fast as possible. And I take umbrage with this. I don't want to spend a ton of my time building a cutscene or a dialogue sequence for a game that then comes with a built-in feature so players can say, I don't want that in my life. Oops. And they skip it. All right. But sometimes players are ready for it. If you know when your players are ready, hey, Kurt. Hey, if you know the players are ready to receive the story that you want to tell, then something like a hub or a campsite is where your players are actually going to change their posture. They are leaning forward, they're getting sweaty, and then they complete the boss, and they lean back, they take a breath. Now they're ready. If you respect that, it's an opportunity for you to introduce that kind of story in the way you want. I mentioned environmental storytelling. Here's one of the first ways that you can do that. Maybe it's not art on the walls, maybe it's not the landscape and the topography or the sight lines to try to get people to move in triangular shape like they're tacking into a wind like a sailboat. Let's see, at Ubisoft, many of these are called custom animation points. When I worked on Watch Dogs Legion, we called them city life objects, and they are essentially a diorama of NPCs who are animated and are scripted to behave in a certain way. And they could be used to add some breath and some anima to the scenery and the backdrop of the game that you're making. It can be a little expensive. Maybe that juice is worth the squeeze, but the animation, it could be on a loop, and it can tell the kind of content you want. Maybe that juice is not worth the squeeze. I mentioned comms and radio. Think about what you can do with a game if you have diegetic audio. This is audio that is organically found in the game. Think of the difference in music between the orchestral score that swells because it's a boss battle versus the music you hear because you walk past an AM/FM radio that is on a picnic table that has been abandoned. And there's all different ways you can do this. Fallout 3, the Fallout series for that matter, it obviously did a really, really great job with radio stations. Grand Theft Auto uses radio stations. There are news bulletins, but you can think smaller than that. There could be ads and commercials. You can get really tricksy. What does it tell your player if there is a furious cawing from crows and they all take flight, and it is because they just flew away from a dead body you posed on the ground or some other point of interest? Maybe it's the animals like birds, maybe it is machinery. It can be used to attract your player's attention to some other kind of point of interest. Fallout is really famous for what's called its skeleton stories. You'll find skeletons posed. Think of the pathos and the remorse and the humanity that a player can feel in that moment when they walk past two skeletons dead on a sleeping bag, curled up like spoons. It's this touchstone of incredible warmth and humanity that invites the kind of ennui that you feel walking through the dead world of Fallout before you get back into another action sequence and fighting mutants. And I'm going to stick with Fallout for a while because Bethesda's done some extraordinary work in this kind of regard. This one's a stretch. Mobile companion apps, they kind of had their golden age, like 2010 to 2014. They drove a lot of interest in a larger game, but your games are in many ways about escapism. Maybe it's different kinds of escapism, but they are about escapism. So break that fourth wall, people. A mobile companion app can take your game into people's lives. You are working your day job and you can't wait till you're home so that you can play that game that is sitting preloaded on your console or your PC once you finish dinner or put the kids to bed or whatever it is that is in your regular life. But a mobile companion app, which might even just be a web page, it may be an opportunity to give players something that they're ready to receive during their coffee break at their day job. And story is something really, really great to tease your players, jailbreak their heads a little bit, and get them thinking about your game so that they can play it once they're ready for it. And speaking of thinking about your game, I'm going to raise this one, and I'm going to draw a red flag to it. Dailies, weeklies, seasons. Sometimes they're just the grind. Go get 7 orc livers. Seasonal goals are a little better at successfully communicating story because it can make an entire player base feel good if you have successfully all harvested the crafting materials that are needed so that at the end of the season of gameplay, you all contribute a sum total of 1 million Gripple Gronuts, and now you can make the kids' petting zoo, and everybody feels a collective sense of ownership about something like that. The red flag here is because this is so easily abused as a dark pattern. It is the humans aren't just squishy pattern detection machines, but you can activate negative thoughts like compulsion and addiction and get players grinding for those 7 orc livers inappropriately, where they're just going through a checklist and they've long since stopped having pleasure playing your game. We all want players on our dance floor as much as possible, but I encourage everybody to be ethical with sticking with positive play. And I will finish with one that checks all of the boxes with one of my favorite games like Portal, and this is the Fatui. Which is the first-time user experience. And the first-time user experience is your player at their most wholesome and invited, where you have an opportunity to take them by the hand and invite them to the dance, to give them 5 minutes to explore your game, to see it the way that you want them to experience your game. Now, if in your game it's all about just tutorializing what the buttons are, that is absolutely fine. If you've got that story burning a hole in your heart, then this is an opportunity for you to think about what is the music that is playing on the radio that is in the room where they start. And humans, you can borrow literacy from other medium so quickly. Noir communicates so fast. If you want to tell players you are in for a dark and gritty ride, noir is the fastest way to hijack their brainstem and let them know they are in for a noir setting right off the bat. If you want to do cozy, people get cozy really fast, and they will settle back and realize they are in for an experience that will leave them feeling treasured and cared for. So knowing that in advance, you can lean into it and you can use it to communicate fast, or you can subvert it. And if you do so, it's incredibly sophisticated, it's high risk, high reward, but it's an option available to you if you make the considered decision with some intention. Like I said, that was me trying to go really fast. How am I doing? 2 thumbs up. I trust that doesn't mean you have 2 minutes left. Thank you all very much. No, stop. No, stop. Hey, Dan, have we got mics to go around to people?
Yeah.
Awesome. Are there any questions? It's presumptuous of me to think that there are. If there aren't, that's fine too. Let's move on to speaker number 2. Are you doing the thing like, oh my gosh, the speaker might feel bad that nobody's asking questions? I'm gonna take one for the team and ask them something.
No, actually, I want you to expand a little more on the noir versus cozy and what that would look like or sound like.
Yeah, sure. So none of us came out of the vat yesterday. We have grown up watching the same movies and TV shows and read the same comic books and incorporated the same cultural myths. You can use that to your advantage. You know that if I say once upon a time, you're going to get a certain kind of story. You start your game with a preloaded screen of once upon a time. You are telling your player to settle in for certain kinds of expectations that include charm and that include history and that include a lesson, and they'll be primed and ready to receive all of that content, and they will look for it because they're squishy pattern detection machines. You start a game with once upon a time, ... and then your game just starts. They will think of it and look at it through a different kind of lens than if you just do a cold open and start with, press start. Player 1, you're up. I used noir and cozy as an example. They're maybe not the best examples. But noir, we think of rain and deep focus and darkness and the grittiness. And players don't expect, I'm going to get tons of belly laughs from this game. Because noir communicates a preloaded set of expectations. And with a cozy game, especially, I say cozy game, that was an informed choice, knowing this audience and this jam, because cozy is really achievable during a 3-day game jam. You know that it's a certain type of art. You are not going to get browns and grays. There's not going to be the sound of bullets. You're going to get a certain style of artwork. It may have a certain palette. It may have a certain types of audio. And it's not going to say, and that's why the main character died. At the end, it won't do that. But then the sophisticated narrative choice is how to subvert that. Can you make somebody laugh during noir sequence, and you can look at like the 1930s Spider-Man and how Nicolas Cage portrays the cape that's always blowing in the wind, even when there's no wind. But you have to know in advance with confidence what kind of literary tradition your player base probably has to inform expectations. And then, like a comedian, you subvert the expectation and you provide them with something that they did not expect at the right timing. Harder, more sophisticated? Absolutely. But it can be worth the payoff, and it's the kind of thing that gets you column inches in media if you want to expand your player base and get more people playing your game. Does that help? Thanks. Thank you, token question asker. Now I feel validated and I can go. Hey, Dylan.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
Great talk, Ryan.
Thank you, Dylan.
I got a lot of questions. We have a lot of people here, maybe it's like their first jam. So do you have any advice for which of these to start on, or like what, like, that can maybe be overwhelming, it's like, oh, I need to this, but do you have any advice for just like where to start? Is there something really simple you like to use to kind of set that tone?
Yeah.
Music, guitars, gameplay?
I don't have an immediate solution. I have an immediate recommendation. It's like seasoned veteran jammers know this. Newbie jammers learn it the hard way, and that is whatever you want to do is probably more complicated than the time you've got. So if you want to do a certain type of storytelling technique, maybe downscope it right out of the bat to make things a little easier for yourself. Like you want to have a cast of quirky NPCs who you will interact with in a hub world before going out and doing a mission and then coming back. Maybe cut that out right off the bat. Think about like those characters, those NPCs in terms of who is orthogonal. You know, like, well, this one is the grumpy one and this one is the angry one, but maybe we only need one negative one. So let's get rid of one guy. You know, this one is the happy one. This is, you know, think in terms of dwarves. You've got Sleepy and you got Sneezy and, you know, whatever. Think in terms of those kinds of archetypes. And then maybe you don't need the dialogue scene where you walk up and you press a hold to interact, and now you have a whole conversation with the camera shifting and there's some animation. Maybe it can all be done just through audio. While the player is out doing a mission, collecting 7 orc livers, you hear crackle, and then Sleepy says, you know, I'm having a really, really tough time getting to sleep. Can you find me, you know, the 7 orc livers that I'll put under my mattress to help me sleep because they're perfumed aromatic. That's not working. You know, like just start downscoping right off the bat. You can always, if you suddenly find at the end of the jam, veterans, you may laugh at this, but you may get to the end of the jam, it's like, wow, we finished early. We got everything in this game. You can polish. Polish is a gas that'll expand to fill whatever container you put it in. So yeah, it's a good lesson to just downscope early. Don't spend too much time on any one thing. Move. Got to move.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Okay.
Thank you all. Like to do anything special? Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Now we're going to do the wonderful trick of switching back. I hope you're ready, Annie. The stream audience is counting on you. And I'm counting on my laptop to behave. Oh, that's promising. It's still there. Yeah, let's clap for my laptop. How are we looking on the stream side of things, Annie? Okay. We're waiting for it to update. The thing. Yep. It's loading and loading. Well, they can survive on audio alone, and also a video feed of my lovely face, and also of Anne's lovely face. You wait, I need to introduce you. They're all so eager. Anne Friesen is the lead programmer and game designer at Flightyfelon Games. She graduated from Vancouver's Film School game design program in 2020. Since then, Anne has worked at Zenfry on titles such as The Last Taxi and Histoire Cachée in Plain Sight. I'm going to say I pronounced that right. Since joining Flightyfelon Games in 2024, she's worked on FREERIDE, Moon Go Boom, and a secret upcoming project. Outside of work, Anne enjoys playing Final Fantasy XIV and being bitten by her cat, Charlie. Please welcome Anne. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just make a new one.
One sec, everyone.
We're actually doing this talk together now.
Yes, this is now a joint talk.
Hello.
Oh yeah, I can see that did not work. Screen share? Entire screen? Whoop. Is the same link still working now? No? Okay. Oh, I think it's because my computer decided no more internet. Let me fix that. We got this. I need Is there like an anime thing that we can do where like everybody sends me their power by like raising their arms and like, that kind of thing? Yeah.
Wow. It just like raised like 10 degrees up here, guys. That was crazy.
All right. The venue Wi-Fi will cooperate, and I will get the stream back online after I click this link. And don't need to click continue. Please. Yay! Excellent. All right. Without further ado, Anne.
What's up? Hello. Let me just get in here.
Should be able to just like spacebar it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, awesome. So, this is my talk about game flavors. I made sure to stretch this title as far as possible until I could barely read it, and I hope you can barely read it too. So I maybe miscalculated and forgot that I was going to be introduced, so I put my own introduction slide in here. Woo! So let me just skim through the parts. Yeah, so I'm the lead programmer and designer at Flightyfelon Games. I was the programmer on FREERIDE that just released, but now I get to do more design. I worked on The Last Taxi with our friend Julian as well, and I graduated from Vancouver Film School, and Dodge City Getaway is my final student project thing where I was the programmer and designer on that also. That was a fun little game where you were robbing a bank, and it's a co-op game where one person drives and the other player shoots the cops that are coming after you. It was wholesome, I promise. Okay, so what is a game flavor? It is kind of a cliche to make a food-related analogy when it comes to analysis and writing, but we're going with it anyways. So a game flavor, to me, is a certain mode of play, plus like the emotional context that exists in. It doesn't mean that your gameplay verbs have to change. It can mean that just the entire context surrounding your gameplay can change. So, like just for example, in a shooting game like Doom, you're always moving and shooting, right? But you move between specific modes of like, I gotta kill all these guys, to I gotta find my way through this freaking maze to get to the next level. And basically each game, to be like a complete flavor experience, needs a minimum of 2. Because if you try to make a game that only has one flavor, it's really hard, and if you did somehow succeed, you would basically be making the equivalent of like, just productivity software, like an Excel spreadsheet or something, or just like a little animation. Like, it wouldn't be very deep, and if it was deep, then I would say that you would win an award. So it might be a little helpful to describe what a game flavor is not specifically. So it's not genre. Like a cooking game, is all about cooking, yes, but how much of that game are you spending doing a specific thing in terms of cooking? Like, are you prepping your ingredients? Are you cooking them? Are you boiling them? Are you, dealing with another player's bullshit? Sorry. That kind of stuff. You need to be a little more specific than that because your game is going to be like a complete meal. Like, think of it as just getting different things, different contexts, different emotions inside your game, including one genre. It's not the verbs that you're doing, like I said with the Doom example, like moving. That's not like, you don't say like, I'm playing the moving game where I move. This is all about moving. My favorite thing that I do that I remember emotionally is moving. No one does that. Like, maybe there is a game where they do move only. Like, there's lots of games where they do that, but like there's always like a context to the moving, right? It is not a gameplay loop. So everyone, like, game design, you know about gameplay loops, like, you know about fight, get resources, get stronger, like, that's like the holy trinity loop. It is not that. Because that, it's like a way of, it's like a flow state, or like a gameplay flow. So that's not a flavor. And it is not using menus. I thought a lot about using menus as a flavor, because if you were to take a video of someone playing like a modern AAA game, they're probably going to spend a decent amount of time in menus. But that's like, they're always using a menu to do something, to accomplish something. So that just does not count. Okay, so it's examples time. Okay, so the first game that we're going to talk about, I'm going all the way back. It is to Asteroids, and this is one of the quintessential examples. First of all, you're just blasting. You're just shooting those freaking pesky asteroids. That's the object of the game. You're supposed to shoot those until they all disappear, until you get a high score. But this creates conflict and, a thing that you're supposed to play around. You're supposed to dodge them. So quickly, you can see that this game of shooting asteroids turns into a game where you have to quickly and, like, on the fly, balance these two emotions of blasting and dodging. So that's meat and potatoes. This is what I mean by having two at least, because a lot of like old single-player arcade games have this. Like Pac-Man also has two, which is like going through the maze and killing all the ghosts. It's like the lower you can get it is like the more interwoven that those are going to be at like a minute-to-minute playing level. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII next. So obviously, one of the biggest things that you do in Final Fantasy VII is combat. And this can be combat of any type. There's non-turn-based battles, like those weird little mini-games kind of in Final Fantasy VII. But there's also like straight-up turn-based combat. And there's like different types of combat, bosses, fights that you're not supposed to win, random battles, obviously, exploration, obviously. This is in open world, this is in towns, this is in dungeons, all of that stuff. Bespoke story sequences. This is, like, if you've played Final Fantasy VII, this is like going to the flashback at Nibelheim where it's not a cutscene, but you are walking through a town for the primary purpose of seeing like a bespoke story sequence. But it does include cutscenes and regular dialogue as well. Party customization, this is a big menu one that I was talking about, because if you ever are getting stuck on a couple of those tricky late game super bosses, you are going to want to like completely rework your team. Half of the fun of that game is building like a completely busted party to just take out all of the difficult bosses by the end of it. And the stupid little mini games like I was talking about. I love this snowboarding mini game, but this is like an important element to the texture of Final Fantasy VII, because like you're always doing something different in that game, and it's great. Another thing that I found is that like many AAA open world video games have like a set of flavors that you do that looks a lot like this. Like, Ghost of Tsushima I love that game. It's a beautiful game. But in Ghost of Tsushima, you are, switching on the fly between combat, exploration, gorgeous, like, prestige, AAA story tours, kind of like adventure gaming, like you're not fighting anyone, that kind of thing, customizing your build. And then there's those, great little mini games that are paced around the world. Like, you could say that about so many games. So that's why it was like a really hard choice to find a more modern game than Final Fantasy VII that didn't also just have these, but it's Monster Hunter. Yeah. So yeah, Monster Hunter World specifically, because not all of them do this one, but this one's my favorite. So yeah. So the first thing that you are doing in Monster Hunter is, not like killing a monster, but tracking it. One of my favorite things about this game is how I felt like I was actually, looking for environmental clues and like habitats for monsters around this game. And so I was exploring the world, and I was looking for tracks, tracking it down, and then that culminates in you wrangling this monster. I say wrangling because you're not actually always fighting it. You don't always want to kill it, but you want to capture it sometimes. So that's obvious. This is just the combat, killing this monster with your favorite weapon, hitting a big one in the head with your giant greatsword. Feels awesome. Yeah, so then you're farming. Most people don't think of Monster Hunter World as a farming game, but there's a heavy amount of just like automatic resource extraction that you have to go and do. And, it's like whole other side management parts of the game, which is like, it requires a different mindset. It requires a different set of emotional goals at the time, as well as planning. So this is the same thing as like party customization in Final Fantasy 7, not 14. Yeah, like if you are facing a difficult monster such as Teostra in the lava zone in Monster Hunter World, you are going to need a ton of cool drinks so that you can stop taking specific damage over time debuffs. So you can see like Monster Hunter World isn't just kill monster. It's about tracking, it's about wrangling, it's about farming, and it's about planning. And okay, so I've just been listing off games and like the stuff you do in them. But like, what can you actually do about any of this information? And so one of the key things that I think this framework of looking at game design is interesting for is applying narrative to your game, and not like a story written narrative or anything like that. It's like a mechanical narrative. So like I'm going to talk about board games for a minute. In Carcassonne, if anyone's played that, you spend the first part of the game just dropping down tiles because you just need to get your territory out fast. But as soon as the game progresses, you never stop just using the verbs of dropping down tiles and claiming your resources, but you're quickly moving into a mindset of, okay, I don't just need this territory. I need to specifically block my sister from claiming this piece because I really need that zone. And if she gets it, I'm screwed. So if you can work in a kind of like a change in context into your gameplay design, you can deliver like 2 different emotional states with basically the same set of verbs. And like I was talking about for the 2 flavors per game, elegance is very important. This is my personal preference, but I really like when a game doesn't have like a billion things about it. I'm sorry to Dave the Diver, but Dave the Diver has way too much stuff in it. It's like the ultimate example of the opposite of what I'm talking about. Elegance leads you to creating like those meat and potatoes experiences, right? Where if you can show that you have 2 big flavors that you can deliver on to the maximum effect, and show that you can swap between them like at any moment for any reason that you want, you're giving them like a deep experience. Like you're giving the player a deep experience. And this is scale. So what you should think about is, when I was talking about Asteroids, that gameplay scale was minute to minute. Like it was like that's a twitch reflex game. In a match of Counter-Strike, you are often, moving and shooting, obviously. But there's this also like whole aspect of like keeping a mental model of where your teammates are and where you think the enemy teammates are, and your objectives and stuff. And you have to keep track of that on, obviously, the like minute-to-minute scale, but also like medium and long terms, so that you can use that information to your advantage. So if you think about like in Pac-Man, like if you're just going through the maze and eating a bunch of pellets, you're minute to minute clearing out the maze. But where that longer scale comes into play is like, maybe I'm going to save this power pellet so I can line up a huge combo on the ghosts. Yeah, so that is me. Thanks. Are there any questions? I promise you that I'm extremely hungry, and talking about game food did not help. Oh.
Hi. I'm not trying to call you out or anything, but I'm wondering about the consistency between, you're talking about elegance between all the different flavors, and then there's kind of this Final Fantasy 14 theme around your presentation. I find that Final Fantasy 14 is one of the most dense games of all time.
It is, yes.
So I don't have a very specific point, but I'm just wondering, do you find FF14 is a more I find this relatively concise. So I'm wondering, how do you think those flavors kind of come together in that game?
So that is a question to me about goals of what you're trying to accomplish. So I might speak a little technical about Final Fantasy XIV for anyone who hasn't played it, but in the goal of a lot of Final Fantasy XIV play experience is to get you to socialize with other people, right? So there's a difference between going into high-end raiding and with a group of people who you may or may not be friends with, to accomplish we're gonna prog this week. We're gonna clear this fight. We're gonna get our drops, and we're gonna get closer to our best in slot gear. There's a difference between that and going to the new exploration zones, where it's mostly about just having a chill grind with your friend, meeting people, talking with people. I would say that in Final Fantasy XIV, there's so many different mini games and intricacies. But a lot of them are on that higher level scale where you're you can focus on your own stuff. You can go talk with people who you're just trying to hang out with, or you can talk with people who are trying to build that core gaming identity with. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. Yeah.
I find that there's definitely a correlation between FF14 and what you had to say about Monster Hunter in many ways.
Yeah.
I get the same kind of feeling from both of those games, and in a lot of the other procedures of just doing your dailies or anything
exactly.
So they do they do feel like game flavors, and this thing being up on the screen the whole time. Now I want to snow cone.
Yeah.
I noticed that we had the nice meat and potatoes example
yes.
for asteroids and games of that ilk.
Yes.
Do we have a food analogy for games like Final Fantasy VII and Monster Hunter?
So I was going to put some on there, but I found a lot of the I was going to talk about how Final Fantasy VII is a paella, because there's so many flavors in there that all blend together, but there's too much AI. I wanted to find a real picture of paella, and I was too uncertain about a lot of them. I wanted to put someone's actual picture in there.
Another thing AI has taken from us.
Yes. You should eat paella. That's my recommendation. Paella is very tasty.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Anne. Moving on to our third speaker. There we go. Next up, we have Eileen. Eileen Mary Holowka is a writer, organizer, and researcher with a background in poetry, video games, theater, and patient advocacy. They believe in creating sustainable and equitable opportunities for game developers and practice this through their work as the co-executive director of Baby Ghosts, founder of Weird Ghosts, member of Gamma Space, and member of Something We Love. They have a PhD from Concordia University, where they studied the intersections of social media and endometriosis. In 2022, they were longlisted for the CBC Poetry Prize and were one of the editors of CV2's Sick Poetics issue. They live in Winnipeg on Treaty 1 territory with their 2 cats, Merton and Moira. Welcome, Eileen. So I'm going to loop this one over here and do that. And, oh. Sure. Do you mind if it's just up there and on here and not on this screen?
Oh,
or would you prefer if it's on the screen?
Either
also?
or is great.
Okay, cool. I don't have to change anything then. All right. You should be able to, yeah, just arrow keys right there.
Cool.
Cool.
Hi. I got paper like it's 1990. Thanks so much for having me. I still remember the first Winnipeg Game Jam, and like comparatively, I feel like now I'm in Star Trek. That was not Star Trek, that was like more like a dungeon. But like it was good, it was good. Today I'm going to be talking about what comes next after the Game Jam, which is funny because the jam hasn't actually started yet. So I need you to sort of ignore me and like put the information into the back of your head and then like remember it later when you're sleeping and like resting your coding muscles and all of that stuff. As I was introduced, I'm Eileen. I'm the co-executive director of a nonprofit called Baby Ghosts that I will talk about in a bit. But first, I know Ryan already asked this question, but I couldn't see. I had a thing in my eye. So who here is at their first ever Game Jam? Okay, sick. And then who here like works in games as your real adult job? Nice, like slightly more maybe. And then who dreams of working in games as your real adult job? Oh boy. And then like who's actually not sure how they got here? You're just like, oh yeah, you wandered in. Well, no matter why you're here, you're gonna end up with something really cool at the end of the weekend, which is the magical thing about game jams. New connections, some reusable code, some art, some music, and maybe even a game. And sometimes a game jam can be the start of something bigger. So a lot of the games that we know and love came from game jams at some point. So Inscription was originally created for the Ludum Dare 43 game jam, and it started as a short card game called Sacrifices Must Be Made, which was the theme of the jam. Hollow Knight began as Hungry Night, more on food topic, made for the Ludum Dare 27 game jam, where you had to like run around in 10 seconds, taking apples from enemies. And then Celeste, as well as Towerfall, both Maddie Thorson games came out of game jams as well. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the ways that you can go from a game jam into making a game or making a game studio or getting into the industry. But it's really important that you remember that you don't always have to make your game jam game into something except what it is. It can be a weird experiment. It can be a failure that taught you something valuable. It can be whatever you need it to be, and that's kind of the magic of it. But if you do want to turn it into something else, I'll talk about that a bit today. But there's also a really great resource to start thinking about these steps called What's Next Jammer, written by Michael Ian Torno and illustrated by Mary Verhoeven. And it'll walk you through, it's like a Twine game basically. It'll walk you through exactly what you want out of your game jam game, what steps you want to go next, and like how you can get there. So whether you're just doing a portfolio piece or you're starting a studio or whatever. If you're like, I don't want to ever look at this game again, can help you. Maybe all you want to do at the end of the game jam is to just keep working on your game, which sounds simple, but even the simple things always involve steps. And we must always start with the simplest steps. So in this case, if you want to just keep working on your game, the first step is talking to your team and seeing if they're on board for finishing it. And if they are you all on the same page about what you're on board with? Maybe one person wants this game to be their full-time project and the others are still in school. Or maybe one person is like, this is a 60-hour masterpiece that I'll pour my entire life into. And the other person is like, this is a 30-second game, bro. Decide on why you're working on this together. Is it to have something for your portfolio? Is it for fun? Is it just to learn like programming? Is it for professional development? Is it to start a game studio? Because all of these are really different goals and they involve really different strategies forward. Figuring out why you're doing it will help you determine what you're actually doing. And think about like why this group of people? What makes this special? What brings us together? And my pro tip number one is I can't tell you how many times I've like heard people come together and be like, we're all friends, everything's gonna be great. Don't even worry about it. And that rarely works out exactly like you might imagine. It's really easy to make a lot of assumptions and like go with the flow while things are good or while the stakes are low, like you're at a game jam. But then as soon as you start thinking about like, how are we gonna pay for it? How are we gonna start a business? Like, is this my career? You really actually have to start having those conversations and putting them down in order to make that work. Step 2 is the what. So once you know why you're doing what you're doing, you can think about what that actually looks like. Do you need something for your portfolio? Maybe you don't need to make the like 60-hour magnum opus project. Maybe that's like down the road. In fact, thinking about scope, which I know was brought up earlier, is one of the most useful game development tips you can learn, especially nowadays when funding is really tight and really short viral games are something that's popular. If you want to build a studio out of your game, that's going to be a totally different route to success and one that has a whole bunch of different steps. So yeah, pro tip number 2, coming out of the first pro tip, is to make agreements with each other. And I know that no one gets into games because they're like, I love contracts and governance. But there's been more and more talk in the industry about making these contracts and agreements with each other, even when you're just like coming out of a game jam. Like, you don't even need to be building a studio. And it can be something really simple, like just all agreeing, hey, we can all use this project for our portfolio, and we can't sell it without everyone's consent. And you can agree on that. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Step 3 is how. So once you know why you want to work on this project, what that project actually looks like, then you can talk about how you're going to do that. And people, myself included, always love to skip straight to the how. But we're always going to find the wrong answers if we just start doing the how without first thinking about the why. It's so often where like the major disagreements come in. I mentioned earlier that learning to scope small is a really great skill that you learn from game jams. And this is actually something that one of the teams we worked with did this last year. So they made 2 game jam games in the time that they were in our program. One DM they made for the Citizens Assembly game jam. It's the one with the owls. There's a bunch of cute owls and you run a Citizens Assembly with them. And it won a $10,000 prize at that jam, because that jam came with a prize. And the other, which was for the Floodlight Investigative Journalism Jam. These are like very specific jams. That one got became a finalist, and that's like helped them move forward with production for that game. So game jams can actually be like really sick, powerful opportunities to like share your work, get people to notice it, and if there's like a cash prize, that's also cool. This like why, what, how thing I'm talking about is not a one-time thing. It's something that you want to repeat over and over again. And for every single stage of making a game or applying for funding or building a studio, you're always going to want to return to this. It's kind of your magic recipe for whenever you're stuck and you're like overwhelmed. Return back to the why and figure out why you got here. So that brings me to who I am. You're like, what's going on? And what Baby Ghosts is. So we're a nonprofit that supports indie early studios, specifically around this idea of like why, what, and how. We mainly work with underrepresented creators, so folks that haven't had the same access or have faced barriers getting into the industry. And unlike most programs out there, we don't really focus on teaching people games. We really focus on helping people build sustainable and long-lasting teams. And we've been doing this for a little while. So we've been going since 2021 and became a nonprofit in 2023. And during that time, we've supported 27 studios across Canada who were major. They were underrepresented game devs for the most part. We deployed over $500,000+ in grants to these teams, and alongside that, we've been contributing to research to try and build a network where game studio co-ops can help support other co-ops, and it can be a wonderful cooperative thing. And so this is a photo of me and this like strange Garfield plushie that's been brutally beaten up. And a bunch of the teams we worked with. So the reason we do this work and focus specifically on cooperatives is because as creative people, we know how valuable collaborative work can be. This is why we love game jams. We share ideas, we iterate together, we build on each other's strengths, but the structures we work under often don't support that kind of collaboration. And so this kind of thing can be really rare. Even within the creative industry, it's really easy to replicate existing structures like binary hierarchies between boss and worker, rigid roles that don't flex with project needs, extraction of profit that doesn't flow to the people who contribute their labor, and decision-making power that's concentrated at the top. Many industries, including games, operate on a logic that treat people and workers as disposable, and I know we probably all know, but there's been over 35,000 layoffs in the last 5 years, and 74% of workers say that the games industry is inequitable. And I don't say that to be a downer, only to say a lot of us have experienced these harms or we don't want to replicate them. And so in order to do that, we really have to think differently about how we're doing things. Basically, we got to return to the why again. Why are we doing this? And how does that make us do it differently? So at Baby Ghosts, we're trying to create that alternative and create an industry that doesn't keep repeating the same old cycle. So if you make a game this weekend and you find yourself asking that question of like, what do I do next? One option that you might want to consider is our Cooperative Foundations program. So this typically runs twice a year, maybe more in the future. Who knows? And we're actually open for applications right now. So basically, the program will run between April 8th and June 3rd. Applications are open until March 6th. The program looks like 8 weeks of workshops. So these include things like going over what a cooperative is, what cooperative principles and structures are, how you make decisions, how you can do financial stuff equitably, and conflict resolution, everyone's favorite topic. All the teams that come into our program, we support 5 at a time, are matched with 2 peers who aren't mentors in the traditional sense. They're other folks who have gone through the program and who have done this, who can share the journey alongside you. And this comes with a $5,000 bursary for your time spent in the program. It also connects you to a growing community of resources, and we're working really hard to spread what we know about cooperatives openly and accessibly. So if you're curious about this and you want more information, ask questions in the Q&A or email me or poke me. I didn't know that the cool QR code thing could be done because, again, I'm in 1999. So we are developing a website called coop.love if you type it into your phone. And we have a bunch of resources there on like how to build a budget, how to build community agreements and things like that. So yes, building alternatives is how we survive and keep creating. The systems that we inherit were never designed to save us. They were designed to extract value from our labor and discard us. But we don't have to accept that. And if you're doubting this and you're like, that sounds great, but I couldn't do it, or you're like, I just came to a game jam, I don't know what you're talking about, you don't have to figure that out yet. And this is the perfect time to experiment and do things differently. But just know that like the skills that you're building at this jam in your life, just surviving, are business skills. They're your community connections, the people you've supported and who support you. And that's your network, and it's gonna grow over this weekend. So that's everything I have. Those are some links, not QR codes, but there you go. Thank you so much for having me. We need hold music.
Eileen, many hundreds of years ago, I was the executive director of something here in Winnipeg called the Fortune Cat Game Studio Incubator, and I wish I had done it your way. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah. How do we know how to do the things when we're just trying to figure it out for the first time without sharing those resources and knowledge with each other?
Hi.
Hey.
So as you mentioned, there's like all these mass layoffs going on in like the tech industry and the games industry, and I'm sure AI isn't helping out with that from a like employee perspective. How feasible would you say it is to start your own thing, start your own indie studio, or like grow your own project, like obviously while also sustaining yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think it's an easy answer, and I don't want to like say that it's super easy or super feasible. What I can say is that like a lot of the teams we work with are not just like going full guns blazing into becoming a studio and like just applying for funding as their only sort of route. They're like doing part-time work and part-time in the studio, or they're doing contract work as a studio as part of their income, and then they're applying for funding for part of it. So I think one really useful thing to think about is that like revenue diversification and doing things differently that way, and checking out the resources like Game Biz Lab and other things that exist out there so that you aren't doing it all alone, because it is a tricky thing for sure. Yeah, I'm sure I have more ideas than that, but that's all that comes to my head right now. Thank you.
Hi, so I saw on your slide that you also have workshops during the application. I was just wondering what kind of workshops that would entail.
Yeah, great question. So it's all stuff focused on like building your team and all the things that you need to do before before you go and incorporate a business. So unlike like some other like business courses, it's less of those practical steps. It's more learning about like different structures that you can use, learning about how you want to structure decision making amongst your team, about how you're going to manage things like conflict, about what kind of like documentation, how you're going to keep track of things, what kind of projects you want to work on. It's a lot of like talking and making decisions together. Yeah, good question. Great, thank you everyone.
All right, thank you again, Eileen. So we are, oh, okay, there we go. Gonna yoink that back over here and push this button and that button and hop right back into these slides. All right, so we have our last speaker now, Steve. Steve has always been obsessed with games and feverishly spends his time trying to make people have fun with them. He has been making games and learning why people enjoy them for 15 years and has been working at Sonderlust Studios for the past 4 years. One day, he's going to make the perfect game and everyone will have fun forever. Welcome, Steve. Slightly taller than
yes,
me.
I know. I'm gonna have to lurch over.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Who set this thing? All right. Is that good?
Unfortunately, it doesn't go taller. But
right.
Yeah, you can just spacebar or arrow keys.
Spacebar.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Steve. My talk is called Resonance. It is the most pretentious name for a very simple thing. The idea is things we can do to make our games connect with audiences or potential players, right? Let's see, let's continue. Fancy animation out of the way. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm Steve, I work at Sonderlust, as mentioned. I've been working on Generation Exile for about the last 4 years. We're approaching 1.0 in the next couple months. So I thought we're gonna start Game 2 next. What can we do to formalize a little bit of the knowledge of the beginning of a project, of prototyping and playtesting. So I thought this talk itself is not very finished. It's a prototype itself. It's the subject of its own topic. So I'm gonna need some feedback, I think. So where's my socially anxious people? I'm one of them. I'm gonna ask the people, what makes a game appealing to you? Just one thing. Let's go with 3. Anybody have any ideas? Visuals, okay. The gameplay, okay, and? Choice. And choice, okay. These are all great things. So I see games, talks that'll be like, make a good game. How make a good game? Play test. That's it. That's a great advice, but for me that doesn't go deep enough. I want to go a little bit deeper than that. I want to go down the layers a little bit. And I wouldn't be a true millennial if I didn't have a Shrek picture. So this talk is going to have 2 layers. It's going to be things to do with making the game, materials around the game, that's your big green guy, and potential adoring fans who, the donkey doesn't talk to the onion, that would be crazy. The donkey talks to the big green guy, right? So you need your big green guy to tell the donkey why the onion's great. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so the first step is the onion, the prototyping and the playtest. The good news is a game jam is exactly that, right? It's the first step of a much larger process, potentially. Okay, so for longer projects, you might want to consider separating your prototypes into like gameplay and art and 2 different things so you don't slow yourself down. In jams, just go, don't eat, don't sleep. I'm kidding. Please take care of your bodies during this. The first thing I would say you want to do is ensure your moment-to-moment in your prototype is good, and then put it in front of somebody, right? We want to play test. Also, I put like 62 slides into this thing, so I hope I don't blow the time budget. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to bounce ideas off of someone's brain. so that you get a small glimpse into their perspective onto your game. You know the inner workings, you know the gears going behind, but they only see the clock face and they don't know what Roman numerals are. So you got to teach them. Players, one of my friends always says, players are experts at finding problems in your game, but not always the solutions. So you're still the designer. You want to figure out what the actual root of the problem is that people are going to find. Okay, buckle up. This is basically all I got. It's about 30 questions. I don't have any answers for anybody. I have no tips, anything. I have a lot of questions. That's all I came up with. Okay, so what I want people to do is get some notes ready. If any of these questions resonates with you, see what I did there, write it down, and maybe think about it when you're playtesting, when you're putting it in front of other people, okay? So the first thing I'm going to say is, do players seem to have the experience I intended? Oh, I'm going to knock this thing over. Is the goal of the game clear to players? Do players understand how to make progress? I'm sorry, I have no more pictures. That was the only picture, is the Shrek one. Is there something players want to keep wanting to do in the game that the game doesn't let them, right? If you notice someone trying to do something, bashing their heads against the wall trying to do something, that might be a sign to change something. Oh no! What? I pressed the end button.
How did you do that?
I pressed end.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
I ruined everything.
How did you go back to the start?
I pressed home. All right.
I
fidget way too much.
We're gonna speed run the whole evening. Remember this part?
My brain just goes hyper mode when I'm up here, guys. All right.
Okay.
All right, let's go from there. I'm going to press spacebar instead of the one next to the end button. All right, do players understand how to make progress? Nothing matters if they don't know how to make progress, right? I guess I skipped that one. Okay, does something in your game need to be simplified? And by this I specifically mean, or you can expand to whatever you want, is how can you maintain the robustness of your mechanics while decreasing the mental load? Is that possible? Is it gonna, I don't know, help anything there? Do players find this engaging? That's just kind of like, is it fun? I mean, every playtest should maybe ask that, but do I need to convince people to play again? Where do players typically stumble, or where are they frustrated? Is each piece of this game aligned with what players expect? Are there places I can put the game's information more in the world? And I mean, maybe if you can, do less text, if possible, conveyance by any other means. If this game had no goal, will it still be fun? Okay, this is a very boring talk. I'm sorry, guys. What inspires imagination in players, and what stifles it? Do players feel they have sufficient choices? Help me, he's locked me in the basement and forces me to write questions. I have like hundreds of questions. I could keep going for days. I'm sorry, I'm keeping you guys hostage here. What captures interest immediately? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Do people want to interact with the game when they see it? Is the game interesting to watch? Do players anticipate what might happen? Why are there so many cats down here? I've been playing too much eugenics. Do players feel in control? Do players get the fantasy? Are players excited to tell the story of what happened after playing? That's a good one. If they do that, you're golden, I think. Does it have the sauce? And everybody's sauce is different, right? Every flavors, maybe a little tangential reference there. Here we go. Yeah, so if two people are making the same game, you're gonna get wildly different results anyways, right? That's kind of good for the market, I think. Do I even like doing this? Why do I torture myself like this? What have I become? Am I trapped here forever? The door just unlocked. That's my writer, yeah. Okay, so did any of these random questions spark any ideas, or did anybody write anything down? Can I get a show of hands? And if it's 0, that's good. Oh, 2? Okay, great. Okay, so that's the feedback I wanted. Is this any good? So. All right, the next part is the appeal. We're going to talk about, oh man, I'm going to go way under time by John. This is the materials around the game. You're trying to bring people in to your game, right? So this is, the dreaded M word, marketing, right? we all gotta kind of do it. Unless you want to shove your game in the corner and have nobody play it, this talk's not for you. So we kind of got to do things to make people notice us in our games. So what do you think? So going from the consumer side to the designer side, what do you think makes a game appealing to an audience? If you have a game you're making, what do you think makes a game appealing, your game appealing to the audience you're trying to reach? Does anybody have anything? Yep. What's that? Yeah, okay. Anything else? Yeah. Yep. Really good sound design. Okay. These are good. First, you got to be lucky. Lucky's over there. If you're not lucky, you're out of luck. Here's some ways to increase your luck. Okay, let's move on. So I've collected some things from other creators. Derek Liu, he's a very good trailer maker. He says, think about your trailer right from the start. And what I think he really means here is think about the visuals and feedback of your game right from the start, right? Because if it's just, spreadsheets are kind of fun sometimes. I think so. I'm a nerd, but. So what I think this boils down even more to is, can this game be understood from a screenshot? Can you ask somebody, what do you think happens in this game just from showing them a screenshot? And can they kind of describe what they think happens in an interesting way, maybe? All right, so all the people I asked there pretty much read off this slide. Your initial impression is basically screenshots, trailers, and if those things go well, maybe you get them to read your words. If anybody disagrees, this is pretty much the tool set you got to attract people initially on the Steam page. There might be other ways. I don't know. Tom Francis, who made Gunpoint, Heat Signature, Tactical Breach Wizards, says players will know what will make your game good. You just have to ask them. He also says badminton is the best sport, and I don't know why. Jonas Tyroller, he says a lot of things about prototyping and appeal, and if you haven't watched his videos, please do. He's got some very good material. Okay, and I have a challenge round for especially the newer people. I want you to play play other jammers' games every day if possible, and ask other people especially to play your game every day if possible. Okay, who are my new people here? Who's never done jam before? Okay, who are my veterans here who have at least done a jam before? New people, look at these hands. I want you to hound them all weekend for feedback. Show them no mercy. They love giving feedback usually, so I don't know. They bite if they don't, so you'll know which ones are good. Here's a couple of people. These are the people I've talked about. Chris Zukowski is another one. He does a lot of in-depth analysis on the Steam market specifically. So check out these people. They have very good content. And that's it. I thought I was going to go way longer. And like I said, I have no advice, so you can ask questions. But
So I just brought here
oh,
pressing questions.
What's that?
What's a video game?
I have no idea. That's a great question. That's
Where does the white go when snow melts?
Where does the white go when snow melts? Next question. All right. That's a great one, actually. Yeah. Yeah. I think it goes in the stomach.
Why were there so many cats down there?
Y'all have great questions. Ones that I cannot answer. All right.
I just want to say that I actually found your slideshow to be really entertaining. I just want to say that because I thought the pacing was cool, the stylizing is cool. So thank you very much for this presentation.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Steve. It's almost 8 p.m., so I'm going to speed run through these last few bits. There's just a little bit of housekeeping before we're done for the night, and at the very end, I will announce what the theme is for Winnipeg Game Jam 2026. So Yeah, I know that. That's what you guys want. You're all suckers for themes. All right, first up, I really want to thank Julie Tetreault, the artist behind the poster and all the amazing graphics you've seen tonight. So big thanks to Julie. Next, a shout out to the Winnipeg Game Collective's graphics coordinator, Isla Voth, for all the work she put in organizing and putting everything together for the slideshow and the stream and all the other work she's been doing, making everything we do look great both physically and digitally. Thank you to everybody who participated in the festival by showcasing something. The students at RRC, Lucky, Chris, Ren, there's another person, but they didn't give me an image to put up here. So I'm forgetting Graham is there. Graham was also showing things. So yeah, thanks to those people for making the festival as good as it was. As well as, of course, Compost and the PegJam Radio set. And next, thank you to the Winnipeg Game Collective coordinator team for pulling all this together and pulling it off. Daniel, myself, June, Sasha, Derek, Annie, and Isla all put in a lot of work over, the last half a year. To get this together, and this is the payoff. So again, thank you all for coming out, but thanks to these people for making something that you can come out to. Also, thank you to the Winnipeg Game Collective ambassadors who are here helping us out with the event this weekend. They won't all be here all the time, but if you need anything, flag down somebody wearing a red ambassador shirt. It'll look something like this. And they'll be able to either help you out or direct you to someone who can. So thank you to these people for volunteering their time this weekend. Okay, it's time. Drumroll, the theme for the Winnipeg Game Jam 2026 is Goblin Mode! All right, that's all I have for, let's leave this up for a moment. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. As a reminder, again, the doors open at 10 a.m. tomorrow. If you need anything, ask on the Discord, flag somebody with an ambassador shirt down, ask them. Thank you so much for coming out, and I'll see you at the Jam.